I can save a life. Do not trust Mr. Nichols. Ever again. Ever again. Don't trust him.
On the morning of March 11th, 2005, Brian Gene Nichols walked into the Fulton County Courthouse in Atlanta, Georgia for his trial for sexual assault. What transpired next would shock the nation and change the way courthouses would handle security forever. In a horrifying turn of events, Nichols murdered the judge presiding over his trial, a court reporter, a sheriff's deputy, and later a federal agent. Hello strangers, welcome back to the Strange Bar and Grill. Today we'll be discussing the Atlanta courthouse rampage and how it changed the way America handles security. Brian Nichols was facing trial for multiple charges, including rape and assault. When he overpowered the deputy assigned to guard him in a courtroom holding cell, he took the deputy's gun and went on the run. After escaping, Nichols went on a terrifying rampage. He first killed Judge Roland Barnes, who was presiding over his trial, and court reporter Julianne Brando inside the courtroom. As he fled the courthouse, he encountered Sheriff's Deputy Hoyt Teasley, who tried to intervene. Tragically, Nichols shot and killed Deputy Teasley as well. The courthouse was immediately placed on lockdown, but Nichols had already managed to escape. In the chaos that followed, Nichols carjacked several vehicles, evading law enforcement and creating widespread panic throughout the city. His next victim was U.S. Customs Agent David Wilhelm, whom Nichols killed while stealing his vehicle. The entire city of Atlanta was on high alert as law enforcement agencies launched a massive manhunt to apprehend the dangerous fugitive. As the day wore on, Nichols eventually took a woman named Ashley Smith hostage in her own apartment. This turn of events would prove to be a crucial moment in the unfolding drama. Ashley Smith, a 26-year-old single mother, found herself in a terrifying situation, but her actions would ultimately lead to a peaceful resolution of the crisis. Ashley Smith was held hostage by Nichols for several hours. During this time, she used her wits and quick thinking to try to reason with Nichols. In a remarkable display of courage and empathy, Smith showed him pictures of her young daughter and read to him from the book The Purpose-Driven Life by Rick Warren. Her approach was calm and measured, despite the immense fear she must have been feeling. Surprisingly, Nichols began to open up to Smith, sharing details about his life and past experiences. This unexpected connection created a space for dialogue between captor and hostage. As they talked, Smith listened attentively, offering words of understanding and encouragement. She spoke to him about her own struggles and the importance of faith in her life. Eventually, through her compassion and ability to connect with Nichols on a personal level, Ashley Smith was able to convince him to release her. More importantly, she persuaded Nichols to surrender to the police, bringing an end to the terrifying ordeal that had gripped the city for hours. Her actions likely prevented further loss of life and demonstrated the power of human connection, even in the most dire circumstances. Brian Nichols was eventually apprehended and brought to trial, where he faced a multitude of charges related to his rampage. The trial was closely watched by the public and media. Given the high-profile nature of the crimes and the shocking details that had emerged during the proceedings, the prosecution presented a mountain of evidence, including eyewitness testimony, forensic data, and surveillance footage. The defense team tried to argue that Nichols was not in the right state of mind when he committed the crimes, citing a history of mental illness and drug abuse. They presented expert witnesses who testified about Nichols' psychological state and the potential impact of his past traumas on his behavior. However, the jury did not find this argument convincing in the light of the premeditated nature of his actions and the clear intent demonstrated throughout his crime spree. After careful deliberation, Nichols was found guilty of all charges. The judge, taking into account the severity and brutality of his crimes, sentenced him to life in prison without the possibility of parole. The verdict brought a sense of closure to the victims' families and the community at large, though the pain of their loss would never fully heal.
I will give the maximum sentence, which is 20 years. I hereby sentence Mr. Nichols to 20 years to serve consecutive to counts 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, and 32. Count 35 is another armed robbery count, and you know by now the armed robbery carries a life imprisonment, and I'm going to give him the maximum of a life imprisonment. That is consecutive to counts 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 32, and 33. None of this will be served on probation. I'm not planning on giving Mr. Nichols any probation at all. Neither am I planning on giving him a fine. Even though you may not like Mr. Nichols, let's give a fair trial to everybody. Let's let them continue to be innocent until proven guilty. Let's give everybody a jury trial if they wanted it, and that's what Mr. Nichols wanted, and that's what he got. And let's treat them perhaps better than they treated everybody else. I don't want to make it personal, but at the same time, if I can save a life, do not trust Mr. Nichols. Ever again. Ever again. Don't trust him. About the personal safety of
11 life sentences, 4 without parole, and another 385 years for Atlanta's courthouse killer. It was a crime that shocked the city and devastated the legal community. Brian Nichols gunned down 4, including a judge, in a 2005 spree that began at a downtown courthouse. The 37-year-old was barely audible as he spoke publicly in court for the first time.
I'm not bringing dishonor. His decision to spare my life.
Prosecutors wanted the death penalty, but 12 jurors couldn't agree on execution. There were 3 holdouts. Judge James Bodiford, who imposed the toughest sentence allowed by law, ended Saturday's hearing with a grave warning.
Do not ever trust him again, because there's been ample evidence that trusting Mr. Nichols will get you killed.
In an emotionally charged news conference, even the lead prosecutor broke down.
We fought for justice. For 4 wonderful people, 4 innocent people.
Many family members of the victims were not satisfied with the sentence, like the daughter of a slain court reporter.
My family and I watched in horror and disgust while Nichols' entire defense team stomped all over the justice system.
The wife of a deputy sheriff.
He never once showed to me any remorse, constantly sitting in his chair at the defense table with a smirk on his face.
And the wife of a federal agent, Nichols' final victim.
Brian Nichols' parents raised an extremely evil person.
Anything short of a death penalty was viewed as a failure by prosecutors, who turned down an offer by Nichols to plead guilty if the state took death off the table. Now the U.S. attorney will weigh a federal charge against Nichols for murdering the agent. A conviction on that charge, and Nichols could again face death. Jason Bronis, The Associated Press, Atlanta.
Let's get back to the work at hand.
It highlighted vulnerabilities in courthouse security and led to significant reforms in how defendants are handled during trial proceedings. Many courthouses across the country implemented stricter security measures, including increased armed personnel and more rigorous screening processes for all visitors. While the story of his crime spree and hostage situation is a tragic one, it also serves as a testament to the bravery of Ashley Smith and the law enforcement officials who worked tirelessly to bring Nichols to justice. Smith's actions in particular have been widely praised and studied as an example of how compassion and understanding can sometimes diffuse even the most volatile situations. Additionally, the case has sparked important discussions around mental health and the criminal justice system. Many advocates have used this incident to push for more resources to be dedicated to addressing underlying issues that can lead to violent crime. These include better mental health support for individuals within the justice system, more comprehensive rehabilitation programs, and improved screening and intervention for at-risk individuals. 17 years later, people are still reflecting on the tragic events of that fateful day. The case continues to be studied by law enforcement agencies, security experts, and criminal justice scholars. It serves as a sobering reminder of the unpredictable nature of human behavior and the importance of robust security measures in our justice system.
17 years ago today, fear gripped people living all across metro Atlanta for 26 hours as investigators searched for a man suspected of murdering 4 people.
Brian Nichols, who was originally in court to be retried on a rape charge, overpowered a Fulton County deputy inside the courthouse, beat her and stole her gun, and that was the start of a deadly rampage.
Jeff Hollinger is joining us now. And Jeff, you remember when this happened and how the city reacted?
Horrific, yeah, absolutely horrific. And that stolen gun was then used to kill Fulton County Superior Judge Roland Barnes and his court reporter as well. The violence didn't stop inside the courthouse. Shortly after leaving the courthouse, Nichols shot and killed another deputy. He spent all day on the run, and that evening he went to a home in Buckhead and shot a federal agent before stealing his gun and pickup truck. His next stop was in Duluth, and that is where he pushed his way into the apartment of a woman named Ashley Smith. Smith had never met Nichols, but as he held her hostage, she was able to talk him into surrendering the next day. Nichols, later convicted of murder and sentenced to life in prison. 10 years after the shooting at the courthouse, a movie was created about the ordeal. It was an extraordinary time, and to this day, people get very, very quiet and very, very solemn when talking about the events involving Brian Nichols.
Yeah, certainly something you don't forget if you were anywhere in this community when that happened.
It's a terrible anniversary, that's for sure.
And he blames drugs and alcohol for everything that had went down that day. All right, remembering all of the victims on this 17 years later after the courthouse shooting. Thank you, Jeff.